If your life depended on it, that's pretty heavy, would you rather kiss Eddie Hall or Robert Oberst? Man, that's we're going deep. My life depended on it. Now, both of these guys, I would say it's very questionable what has been in their mouth or around their mouth. But out of the two, and the bad part is I'm gonna hurt one of their feelings with this answer. Out of the two, I'm gonna say probably Eddie. I feel like his scent is a little bit better normally, but I mean, Oberst isn't bad. It's just like the whole crazy beard kind of, I feel like that'd be very weird. So I'm gonna say life depended on it, Eddie. Past jobs, how long did you work before doing Strongman full time? Best advice to manage the work/training balance. So this is it's a great question because coming up when I first got into the sport of Strongman, obviously I was not making any money from Strongman directly, and I definitely was working other jobs. So my initial goal coming out of college was to be a strength and conditioning coach, and I set my sights on that. I actually got a position at Arizona State, as I've talked about before, underneath Joe Can at that time, and I actually am very thankful for that because I learned a lot, but I did not make a lot of money from that, and it actually didn't work out because I was going into debt trying to make that happen. So I had to come back to Colorado, take a couple other jobs, and then I went into basically kind of sports performance, the same thing, training some kids, and eventually went into personal training so I could set my own schedule. And that really helped because a lot of my clients that I worked with understood that at certain points I needed to leave to go compete. So it allowed me to have a flexible schedule for my training, but also for my competitions. And then as I started doing better with the sport of Strongman, I started backing off on the training that I was doing. And it was kind of a gradual shift. But, I think a lot of people go into the sport thinking that, they're going to win a couple contests and then they're going to be making enough money where they don't have to work. And that just simply is not true. So you got to have a backup plan, but having a job with some flexibility is amazing. What I will say is when I was trying to build up, it wasn't easy. And I really genuinely 100% did not have a life. So, I would go to work in the morning, let's just say I'd get up at 5:30, some of the jobs had to be to work at 7. So I would work from 7 until in the afternoon. I would get home, I'd eat, I would head to the gym. And then a lot of times with everything else I was trying to do, I would close the gym down, at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, head home, get to sleep, get up, do it all again. And, never go out on the weekends, never allow myself to have that quote unquote fun, but I was focused on my goal. I was focused on what I wanted to achieve, and I was willing to make those sacrifices at that point in my life and kind of give up having a personal life in order to get further ahead and accomplish my goals. So, as far as advice goes, I would genuinely say, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but if you want to achieve something great, you're going to have to be willing to pay the price. And a lot of times that means making sacrifices, and that means a lot of, late nights, early mornings, working hard, and doing the work when other people are sleeping or other people are having fun. But eventually it will pay off. And, that's kind of the vision that I had. And whether a lot of other people believe that or not, I believed it in my heart. And that's where all of it came from. That's where all of my fire and passion came from. And, I was positive about it and just kept moving forward. And then eventually, basically maybe even after I won World's Strongest Man, I was able to kind of, transition over to pretty much being full-time with Strongman at that point. But it was not easy. So, there's I don't want to get it twisted where it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be very simple. Just have this job, train, compete, and then you're easily going to be able to transition over. That is just simply not the case. So, make sure that you're ready for the long haul, and, also make sure that you enjoy it, right? So if you enjoy your training and competing, it will not be work, it will be fun. And that, it truly was hard work for me, but it also was very fun and rewarding. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with answering your question. Who are you betting on, Eddie the Beast Hall or the Mountain? Well, this question seems to come up whenever we ask for questions and a question answer, so I will answer it. Thor obviously had an exhibition fight which was broadcast and shown. I didn't personally watch it, although I did see a few highlights of that fight. I am not a boxing expert. So, from what I saw, it seemed like he still had quite a bit to work on compared to some other boxers that I have watched. Eddie, on the other hand, has not put a lot out there. But what you guys need to understand about Eddie Hall is he is only going to put out what he wants people to see. Eddie is working in silence, aside from what he is putting out there. So it's tough to gauge where he's at. But if I know Eddie Hall, I know that he is working incredibly hard and he has dedicated himself to this. So he's probably a lot further ahead than what people may think. And as far as the people saying, Eddie needs to have an exhibition, he needs to put that out there, it's a double-edged sword, right? So number one, we don't know that he might be doing exhibitions kind of behind closed doors to learn and to watch the video. But when you do an exhibition match that everybody can see, obviously Eddie's camp can see what Thor's doing, and literally Thor just displayed all of his abilities with that exhibition. So now they can plan for what Thor's tendencies are, where he's going to move, how he's going to react, that type of stuff. So you kind of show your full hand, but on the other hand, like I said, double-edged sword, Thor got game experience, so to speak, that potentially can help him. So that's probably what he's thinking is, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to kind of throw myself, into the ring, see what happens, and go from there. So I think at this point, based on what I have seen and heard, I would still tend to go more toward Eddie, but it's great to see Thor throwing that out there. I think it builds some more hype for their fight, and we will see. At the end of the day, the clock is ticking, and every day we get a little bit closer to seeing what is going to happen. In an old interview, you mentioned typing on a keyboard as being a big hurdle to office work. Do you have a bigger keyboard yet? Well, first, I want to commend you for being a longtime fan, because that was definitely a few years ago that I put that out. And I have got a new keyboard. I got a new computer, but it is still a smaller keyboard. Luckily, I don't have to type nonstop, so it's not hard for me to work around that. But I'm kind of curious, if I did get a bigger keyboard, if I'd almost have to relearn how far to move my fingers and that type of thing. Who knows? It could be really comfortable. But I know they're out there. People sent me different links and that type of thing. I just honestly haven't got around to getting one and trying to use it. Has there ever been a moment where you realized you were in the big leagues, and did it scare you? Gosh, I have to think back to early on in mainly my strongman career. I had a couple of those moments playing basketball too. But once I got into strongman, I think I would say probably the first moment I had like that was I got a call up to do the Super Series at that time, and the Super Series no longer exists, but that used to be the qualification to get into World's Strongest Man. So I got a last minute, literally, it was a week out from doing the Super Series contest. And, at that time it was, Mariusz Pudzianowski was there and all the other guys that were, qualified for World's Strongest Man or trying to qualify for World's Strongest Man. And I hadn't been training for this contest, so I just kind of dove into the deep end, so to speak, but I was not going to pass up that opportunity. And I remember when I got to the contest and kind of being there, being around those guys at that moment, I remember kind of thinking, like you said in here, hey, this is it, man. This is the show. This is my opportunity to get to World's Strongest Man. Unfortunately, that day I did not qualify for World's Strongest Man. That was in 2007. But I, got the experience from that contest, came back, and then was able to qualify for World's Strongest Man in 2008. So the next year. But that was probably the moment, I think. There's been several others, I think, walking out onto, different stages and having those kind of surreal moments that are awesome. But I have loved every single minute of it, and I always thrive on having a bigger challenge. It may have scared me, but it also excited me as well. Did winning the Shaw Classic give you confidence that you still have several years left of competing for titles? World's Strongest Man, Arnold Classic. I will say this about the Shaw Classic. I was very happy to win that competition. Obviously, I organized it, and I've seen a lot of people say, well, Brian, you picked your best events, and these type of comments, when in actuality, all I tried to do was pick a well-balanced set of events that would prove who the strongest man was. And I think that that's very important when it comes to strongman competitions. The one thing that I did with the Shaw Classic that I maybe haven't done in quite some time is I was very positive about the competition. And there's a lot of things with World's Strongest Man and the Arnold where I have kind of got caught up in negative things. And, this is something I could probably, talk for a while on, but I'm a very positive person, as all of you know, but because I kind of bring in so much positivity to myself normally, if I allow a negative thought to come in, I also, in the same manner, with it seems like kind of a lot of power, bring in a lot of negativity as well. And so that's something that I've kind of, identified, if you will, and something that I was doing wrong. So instead of going into, World's Strongest Man and focusing on the positive, thinking about good things, that type of stuff, it was me kind of thinking about negative things and bringing myself down, so to speak, and expending a lot of energy in negative areas that I really had no control of, but I was allowing that to bring me down and kind of suck a lot of my energy out of me, especially the positivity, and I wasn't really having a clear mind. Whereas with the Shaw Classic, I had a clear mind because I was so stressed out trying to make that contest happen and get it set up and handle all the small details that I didn't really focus on, the actual events and dwell on things. And I was just so kind of elated and happy that we were able to make that happen, that all the guys got here safely, and everybody was so excited about the event that it was such a kind of positive vibe that I feel like it really helped me. So yes, in a lot of ways, it did give me the confidence in myself, but it just kind of opened my eyes to the fact that this is very fun. I really enjoy competing. I really enjoy the training, and it was an awesome event, and it just kind of brought some life back into me in that way. Of all the amazing strongmen you've competed against, who has been the most difficult to win against or to set your mind against? Well, I feel like the answer to this is pretty simple, and I would say that would come down to Zydrunas Savickas. Him and I had a historic rivalry in the sport. In my opinion, the best rivalry that's ever been in the sport of strongman. And he was tough, and him and I had some great battles because we were good at different events. And so, when it was laid out, a lot of competitions kind of came down to the last event. And, as far as the, you mentioned the mental battle, that was always very challenging with Zydrunas because typically speaking, we both didn't make a lot of mistakes. So, going in at the big moments, especially for both of us, really didn't get to us or affect us, whereas a lot of other competitors in a big moment will tend to kind of fold or make a mistake, that type of thing. And for both of us, that didn't really happen. But, That's why we had the rivalry we did, and why I think it fueled both of us so much to compete against one another. Do you have big regrets / opportunities you didn't take in strongman or even life? I can't say that I've got a lot of regrets, really, when it comes to strongman and also in life. I have been pretty consistent in my life with setting goals, going after what I wanted. At different times, I got my goal and realized that wasn't what I actually wanted to happen. And so at that point, I kind of had to change course and reset at certain points. But, when it comes to the sport of strongman, I've really tried to think things through and be strategic about how I did things and when I did different things. One of the toughest choices I actually had to make was in 2007. I qualified for the IFSA World Championship. So you guys may or may not remember that the sport of strongman actually split after 2004. World's Strongest Man remained, but a lot of the guys actually left and went over to compete with a federation called IFSA. And that was still running in 2007. I qualified for the IFSA World Championships, which is essentially, a mirror of World's Strongest Man, if you will. And I had to make a choice. At that point in time, I was very new to the sport, but I had to decide whether or not I was going to go with IFSA and sign the contract to compete there, or try to qualify to compete at World's Strongest Man. And I made the tough decision to actually turn down going to the IFSA World Championships and try to go qualify for World's Strongest Man, which I was not able to do in 2007. But in hindsight, 2007 is when IFSA folded. So all the guys that went to the 2007 IFSA World Championships did not get paid. It was a very bad situation. And in hindsight, I made the right choice. So, those are the types of decisions that were very tough at the time. But I made my decision and I've lived with it. And I think it's important to really, really try to live life without regrets. Certain situations that I've been through in the sport of strongman have been very, very difficult. And I could list off a bunch of those moments, but they're not regrets. They're just learning experiences. And I've tried to use those moments. A lot of times they were tough to deal with at the time, but I've tried to use them as learning experiences and move forward. But that was a very good question.